Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jerry, and today we have my Week 11 picks where I'm going to go through every single pick for Week 11. Imagine that. I'm going to go over my picks money line against the spread, as well as a score prediction for each game. We had another perfect prediction last week, so we've had a few of those. So stay tuned for these picks videos every week. Seems like I can get a perfect one occasionally. So, but yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And let's get into this first game, the Eagles-Commanders, Thursday Night Football. I have the Eagles taking this one 31-28. The Eagles have been on a run recently. Commanders are coming off a loss, and the Eagles just look like a stronger team. They're able to force a lot of turnovers. Commanders have played pretty safe football altogether and always been in games or won games. So I think that'll be the same case here. Where I just think the Eagles have been a little bit stronger recently. And, you're getting, as every week goes on, you get more and more tape on Jaden Daniels, and it will make it more difficult, for him to have success. Now, he's still maybe able to overcome that success. But you look at players like CJ Stroud, everybody said he was going to take over the league. And then now he's not really doing that great this year. But despite that, he's still got a positive record, and they're still winning games. But I think the Eagles can take down the Commanders, but I do think the Commanders are going to cover. And like I said, I think they play close games or they win. So I think taking Commanders at +3.5, even in Philly, is a good one. So I'm taking them to cover there. Next, we have this. I mean, you could say that this is a little egregious. This is a little extreme. I don't think so. I think that it could be very likely that we have a ridiculous game like this. Now, I would hope not, because the Bears have had a good defense, but I do think the Packers are going to win, and I think they're going to cover the 5.5 spread. The only sliver of hope that the Bears could really have is if this whole, Coach Rizzi on the Saints comes in as the interim head coach and beats a rival in the Falcons in the division there. Now, I don't think, the Panthers play caller for 6 games last year is going to come in and be the play caller for the Bears, and then they're all of a sudden going to beat the Packers or cover a 5.5 spread. But Jordan Love has made some mistakes. So if the defense, if they can get a turnover on first couple play of the drive where the offense doesn't have to move, they could kick some field goals. And, I think they could get 9 points. So if they can hold the Packers to 6, or maybe just 7, maybe 1 touchdown, I guess maybe they could win the game. But I think road to 10 points is going to be a tough one for the Bears here. And I have the Packers taking this one by a little bit and covering the spread. Next, we have the Lions-Jaguars. This is another one. This is a tough one because, the Jaguars last week played the Vikings very close. Now, the Vikings offense had kind of fallen off, in these last few games. So I think that's why you still get a large spread here. But Jaguars played really good defense against them, so will the Lions get to 28 points? I don't know. You would think that they would, but I think with Mac Jones starting again, I don't see how they're going to put up much offense. They only had 10 first downs and 140 yards, so I think that's where it comes in. Even if the Lions score 14 points, we don't know if the Jaguars are going to score at all. So I do think the Lions win and the Jaguars cover, but it is a little bit odd for me to see a spread that large when they just lost to the Vikings by only 5 points last week. But again, Vikings have kind of been going downhill. So I'm taking the Lions 28, Jaguars 10. Next, we have Titans-Vikings. I think just because I've seen some promise and some balance, honestly, from the offense, I think that the Titans could get in the end zone again, but I still think the Vikings offense, I think they're going to look at last week's tape and go, hey, Sam Darnold, you can't throw 2 interceptions in the red zone. We at least need to get points off of that. We need to smack the shit out of the Jaguars. We can't let that shit happen. So I think they're going to get back to getting into the end zone and might be able to make some big plays. Obviously, Titans have L'Jarius Sneed, so that's going to be a good matchup on Justin Jefferson. But I think with the Titans and with the offense actually making some big plays and finding the end zone, I think there's hope. But a very little amount of hope. So I don't think they're going to win. I think they'll just get on the board a little bit, and I think the Vikings will win and cover. Next, we have the Dolphins and the Raiders. Now, this was a tough one, too, because the Dolphins been kind of close in games. Obviously, they beat the Rams by, I believe it was 8 points. So if you think, if they can beat the Rams by 8 points, they should be able to beat the Raiders by 7, and that's kind of where my logic came from. I think the Dolphins still need to get Tyreek Hill more involved, and the fact that they've been they won last week and been in close games with some better opponents, without using Tyreek Hill. I think that goes to show that the offense is kind of headed in the right direction. But I think if Tyreek Hill gets going, they could get back up to scoring, 30 points a game, or, up in that realm at least. So I think the Dolphins definitely win this one, and I think it's going to be a tough one for the Raiders. Max Crosby will have to be attacking Tua the entire time for them to have a chance in this game. But I have the Dolphins winning 24-14 and covering the spread. Next, we have Patriots-Rams. I think Patriots have looked better. Obviously, they played the shitty Bears last week, so that's why, game's probably favored a little closer than I thought, I guess. Now, granted, the Rams didn't play very well last week either, so I could see why the game's a little closer too. It's also in New England, but I think for me, it's the Patriots. Although Bears didn't run the ball much last week, Patriots have still had one of the worst run defenses in the league, and Kyron Williams, although slowing up a little bit as far as his consistency in productivity, I think Kyron Williams is really going to get going this week, and he's going to have a huge week. And then even if he doesn't, I think the Patriots are going to have a tough time stopping Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Obviously, you got Christian Gonzalez over there, but he can't do it all. So I got the Rams winning this one, but the Patriots keeping it fairly close, just not enough to cover. So the Rams cover 21-16. Next, we have the Saints-Browns. Now, this seems like a trap game. There's a few games this week that seem like trap games, honestly, because you look at the Browns where they had one really good week. Jameis Winston comes in. It's a new face. Here we go. We got famous Jameis back. And then the following week, he just turns into old Jameis and throws a bunch of interceptions, and it kind of ends up being a big problem. So I don't know which Jameis we're going to get this week. And the Saints had been one of the worst teams in football the previous 7 weeks, and then they go out and get a win. So against the Falcons too. So I'm going to hope that they're going to ride that wave of, Derek Carr doing a little better, keeping Alvin Kamara involved, Taysom Hill having a decent role in the game too. And I feel like if they can do that, I think they can beat the Browns, but we just really need to know it. It's going to come down to which Derek Carr we're going to get and which Jameis Winston we're going to get. But I got the Saints winning 20-17, falling into that trap. Next, we have another trap game, the Jets-Colts, where it's like, okay, Joe Flacco looked like dog shit. Shane Steichen says that's not why we benched him. We just wanted to put Anthony Richardson back in. And then Anthony Richardson comes back in, and we need to know which one of him we're going to get, because he has probably one of the best singular passes of the year on that bomb. I believe it was to Alec Pierce earlier in the year. But aside from that, he hasn't really been a great quarterback. So you have to look, is he going to be able to take advantage of the defense that didn't play very well against the Cardinals? Hopefully the Colts are looking into what the Cardinals did last week and saw that running the football, utilizing James Conner, and utilizing a mobile quarterback was kind of able to not even as much scrambling for yards down the field, but even just in the behind the line of scrimmage. I think utilizing that, the Colts have a really fair chance in this game because you're playing a team where James Conner's kind of a threat in every regard. Same thing with Jonathan Taylor. You've got a mobile quarterback now in Anthony Richardson. Now, he's not as good of a throwing quarterback yet as Kyler Murray, but I think you got some weapons over there in Indianapolis. And I also don't think their defense has been playing as well as the Cardinals. But the whole time I talk about this, you go, Jerry, you're not picking the Colts. But again, I think this is like a trap game of some sort. The Jets are looking for a get-right week, and Rodgers and Devontae are starting to get pissed. So I think I just think they could win it. And I mean it when I say I think this is one of the tougher weeks for picks, but I'm taking the Jets 21-17. Next, we have Steelers-Ravens. Another one, I don't know. Is it a trap game? It's in Pittsburgh, so that's kind of where I'm giving the Steelers. The fact that you can get the Steelers at +3 in Pittsburgh, this honestly, it could be one of my easiest picks, which is crazy to say because of how dominant the Ravens offense has been. Ravens defense hasn't been good. And so the crazy part that the Ravens are favored is because, yes, Derrick Henry is tough to stop, but even the Browns showed that they could slow down Derrick Henry. And I think the Steelers have one of the better defenses in the league. So if they can contain Lamar and Henry, which I think they're one of the few teams that could, the Steelers offense has been really good these last few weeks with Russell Wilson coming in. And so if he can keep doing what he's doing, Ravens defense has not played well. So you kind of have a recipe for success with the Steelers. But that's usually where I get proven wrong, and the Ravens blow out the Steelers. But I think the Steelers are going to win this one 24-20, despite the +3 line in this game. Next, we have the Broncos Falcons. This is another one where I have no idea what to do, because the Falcons looked like they were going to win their conference in the easiest way possible. And then they lose last week to the Saints. And I just don't even know what to think about that, because the Broncos, who had looked good, lose to the Chiefs in a very close game. So they still look like a good team, but then they're only favored by 2.5 points. So I think the Broncos are going to win it. I think the Broncos still have had one of the best defenses in the league as well. And then I think the Falcons, I think they have a good offense, but it's kind of hit or miss if they're going to show up. So I think the Broncos can hold them down there, and they'll just have to score a few times, I think, to win this one, get right around to that 20 mark for the Broncos. So I have them winning 21-17 and covering the 2.5 point spread. Then we have the 49ers and the Seahawks. This is a larger spread, and I do like sometimes in these games where you have a team looking for a get-right game, which I don't think it's a great opportunity for the Seahawks. But Geno Smith pretty much every week has thrown for a lot of yards and gotten the ball down the field. He's also turned the ball over. DK Metcalf should be coming back, so that would be some optimism towards the 6 point. Like, why couldn't it be, 28-23, and then, the Seahawks cover the spread? I guess it could be. But I think the 49ers, especially with how well Brock Purdy threw the ball, 350 yards last week, over 50 yards. I'm going to see if I can remember these here. It was Pearsall, I think it was Debo and Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, and then there was another guy. I don't know if they say Kittle. There was 5 people that he threw 50-plus yards to, and the leading receiver was Juwan Jennings with only 93. So he was distributing the ball for big yards the entire game. Ricky Pearsall got another big week, which I think is really exciting to see him kind of shine. They were trying to decide, Debo, Ayuk, is Ayuk going to stay? And I think you'd feel more comfortable if Ayuk, had to leave or they had to get rid of him. It seems like maybe things are getting better there. Maybe they're not. I'm not involved with San Francisco, but I think Pearsall is definitely making an early impact after being shot and coming back. He's doing great. So I think 49ers with their weapons all around. We saw them beat the Buccaneers last week, and they didn't even have Christian McCaffrey doing anything. He had 13 carries for 39 yards. So I think, CMC probably gets involved here too. And the 49ers win 31-20. Next, we have another game where this very well could just be like a trap game, because you got the Bills, who I have as one of the best teams in the league, as well as the Chiefs. Bills played down to the Colts a little bit. Didn't perform especially well on offense. Just took advantage of the turnovers and ended up making that game a 30-20 game. But I think because they played so close, I don't think they're going to get the win. And the Chiefs just seem to win games every week. It doesn't matter, what happens. Patrick Mahomes could throw 6 interceptions, and I feel like you could still say the Chiefs would win the game. I felt that way about the Lions, the Chiefs, and it's hard to pick against them. I think if you're going to pick against them a week, this is probably a good one, because the Bills are looking for a win, and this has become a big rivalry in the NFL. But I'm going to take the Chiefs. That's an easy pick, 27-24 in this one. Next, we have another team that just seems to win games, the Jim Harbaugh-led Chargers, where just a very disciplined team. Every week have done well on offense and defense. It's been very balanced between pass and run, and I think as far as across the board in the NFL, definitely more run heavy for a guy like Justin Herbert, who in his second year threw 5,000. So I think it's funny to see Justin Herbert throws 14 for 18 for 140 yards, and the Chargers win by like 15 or whatever it was last week. It was a pretty big win. So I'm taking the Chargers to win this one over the Bengals, just because I don't think the Chargers, they're not a team that's going to put up 30 points, week in and week out, but they don't really need to, because their defense performs well enough, and their offense can find ways to methodically either dink and dunk or just pound the rock down the field, and it seems to work. So I'm taking the Chargers to win this one 24-17. Seems like a low bar for the Bengals, especially You know, with how many points I think they're like 2-6 or whatever when they score 30 points. So to have them only score 17 seems odd. And honestly, if you look at the matchups, it'd be really easy to pick the Bills. But the Bengals defense has done very poorly aside from, you know, Trey Hendrickson. So I'm taking the Chargers though, 24-17 over the Bengals, covering the spread. Lastly, we have the Cowboys and the Texans. Now, this game to me is going to be a mess. This might be where the Cowboys finally implode and fire everybody. Who knows? But the Texans have also not looked very good. They've kind of played down to their opponents. They haven't really got any big dominating wins in a sort of a large fashion there. So I think the Texans probably looking at an opportunity to do so, but they could play down to them. So I've got only a 10-point victory here, but I would almost guarantee that they're going to win this game. But I think they could stumble and play close to their opponent again, and then only win by 7. I think that's definitely a possibility. So I got the Texans in this one, 27-17. I think Joe Mixon's going to go crazy. It's going to be tough too, though, when you think about, you know, all the, you know, some of the defensive line and some of the injured players coming back for the Cowboys. So I'm still taking the Texans, 27-17. And then we have last week. Last week went 9-5, week 10. So I'm at 152 as far as money line. Against the spread, we're 77-75, trying to stay positive there. And then against the team with the better rushing record, they take the lead a little bit wider margin over me at 103-49. So that's going to be it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Again, I do a picks video every week, and you can see we've had a positive record over the year. So not the best, but we're positive. So thank you for watching, and have a great day.